Clay with Kids Life, and I'm here with another Devo for you. And we're going to talk about when Jesus walks on water, which is a pretty cool story. I've always loved this one just because it's actually really neat. So it's found in Matthew 14, verses 22 through, let's see, we're going to go through 35. So it says, immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. Walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. Can you imagine? I would probably think it's a ghost too. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," replied Peter, "tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." Okay, now just a minute. If you were in this position, would you just climb out of the boat and walk on the water? Kind of crazy, huh? Well, let's see. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink and cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." Wow, what a crazy story. So Jesus was praying. He was on the mountainside praying, and the disciples were out in a boat, and all of a sudden they see him just walking out on the water. I'm kind of like the disciples, totally scary. You don't expect Jesus just to be like, "Hey guys," out from the middle of the water. And then he asked Peter to come to him. That's pretty crazy. I don't even know if I would have the faith to get out of the boat and walk. And you know what's really cool is Peter walked for a little bit. But you know what caught him up? Was the wind and the waves, and he got really scared and he got really nervous. And you know what happened is he took his eyes off of Jesus. He lost his focus, and Jesus was the one who was actually helping him walk on water. And you know what? That's what Jesus does for us. He helps us in any situation that we have. Sometimes we look at the situations around us and we think the waves are too big, this situation's too big. But if we keep our eyes on Jesus, he will keep us from sinking, and we can walk on water. Now we may not actually walk on water, because you'll probably take a bath and go try walk on water, and I'm sorry, it probably won't happen that you're gonna walk. You're probably gonna sink. But that's not the point here. The point here is that Jesus should be our focus. And our verse today is from this passage of scripture, Matthew 14, and it's from verse 27, and we're going to call it 27b, because B means it's the second half of the verse, and it says, "Take courage, don't be afraid." And that's what Jesus is telling us, to take courage, don't be afraid. If you keep your eyes on Jesus, he's the one who's going to help you through any storm, through any high waves, through anything. He can help you, so don't be afraid. All right, we're going to do a science experiment here, and what you'll need, if you want to try this at home, you need 2 eggs and 2 glasses of water and some salt. 4 tablespoons would be best. And a spoon so that you can mix up the salt. So we're going to try this here. So what you do is you drop one of the eggs into the glass of water. And this egg, did you see how it sunk to the bottom? But this one, if we put it in here, it's going to just sink to the bottom. But what we're going to do is we're going to add this salt to this water. And like I said, I have 1/4 cup of salt here, which should be enough. It calls for 4 tablespoons, but I think because of the size of our jar that we have, that it should be okay. So I'm going to stir this up. And put the second egg into this mixture. It's kind of cloudy, but I don't know if you can see. The egg is floating. Okay, science can explain how this egg floats, but you know what? Science can't explain how Jesus walked on water. And that's what's so amazing about that, is that that was a miracle of God, that Jesus was able to walk on water. And the science explanation behind this is that the raw egg has more mass in the regular water, so it drops to the bottom. And in the second glass, the salt makes it more dense, and so that the egg is able to float. And so that's the science behind it. But what is really cool is that Jesus is bigger than science, and Jesus can help us with whatever we need. And he wants us to keep our focus on him, and that's the only way we're going to get through this life. Because right now, I don't know about you, but it's pretty crazy, and I know some of you are wondering, when am I going to get to go back to school, or when am I going to get to see my friends, or when are things going to be different? But you know what? Jesus sees you, and he wants you to keep your eyes on him, and he's going to get us through this, because he is the only way. He is the one who helps us and holds our hand through it. All right, we're going to do a few more experiments about sink or float. And so I have some things here that we're going to try and see if they sink on water or they float on water. And this is just regular water. There is not any salt or anything in this, so it's just regular water. And so we are going to check it out. And so the first thing I'm going to do, is this boat. And we're going to first see if this man will walk on water. Do you think he'll walk on water? We're going to set him on here. He's a little Lego guy. He floats. The Lego man floats. So technically, I guess he's walking on water. If he could walk, he would be. And then we're going to put a little boat here. And it floats. A boat that floats. So I wonder if we put the guy in the boat, it still floats. All right. So let's try the Hot Wheels car. And you guys can try this at home. You can get the same thing that I got, or you can get different things. And see, this one, it sunk down to the bottom. All right, let's see this ball. Think it'll sink or float? It floats. It is pretty hollow and very lightweight. All right, the Rubik's Cube, which I can't do a Rubik's Cube. I'm not good. The only way I can do a Rubik's Cube is if the stickers remove and then I put all the stickers on the correct sides. That's the only way I can do a Rubik's Cube. So we're gonna try this one, sink or float? Float! Wow, I thought that one would sink, honestly. I wonder if it fills with enough water, still floats. Because look at how much water it had in it. And it's still floating. Wow. All right. I think this one is pretty obvious. I have some marble pebbles, I think is what they call them, decorating stones, right to the bottom. They sunk. And this little block, we're going to see, floats. All right, we got a potato. Let's see, sink or float? Definitely sink. Down to the bottom very quickly. All right, rubber ducky, sink or float? Floating. All right, and our last but not least, we have a piece of foil, and we're gonna see, well, it kind of floats, but we don't technically have our own water. So what I'm gonna do, make a little noise here, and make a foil ball. So, do you think this is going to sink or float? Let's see. It floats. All right, well, remember our verse today and put it to memory. Matthew 14:27, take courage, don't be afraid. And just if you are in situations where the waves feel like they're getting big, things are coming up against you, and you are just losing hope, remember, take courage, don't be afraid, Jesus is with you.